Things. One again, matanot levyonim. Don't wait last second. If you want, highest privilege to be your shaliach to distribute it bo bayom on Purim, and you should always be privileged to be from the givers. Second of all, want to reiterate that over Purim, there's a lot going on by us over here, Baruch Hashem. Everyone's invited to come. It's very important. What we did last year was a highlight by Kupferberg. We do a tish, we do a Purim tish, men and women. David, you really, that's when we really connected, I think, last year.
Yeah, be careful if you haven't gone, then you go to that.
But then you're here.
That's it.
Right, but I'm talking to people that are here already, so. Purim night, 9:30 by, Simon's.
I said, if you hadn't already gotten.
Kupferberg at night. And then obviously, Heliga Jerry at, what time is he starting, Jerry? 11:30 to 2. If you want to see an interesting experience for a morning, which is usually an experience you see later at like 3, 4, but it happens here at 11. So come see, it's amazing. Jerry goes for it. He could barely stand up by like 12:30. But then he shows up to Seuda, hey, how's it going? He's like, Michlal, this year he's flying out right after Seuda, actually. He's flying out Thursday night. He thinks
exactly.
He's flying.
He's probably on the plane.
Right. We'll see about that one. And you're all invited every year, Baruch Hashem, all the Chavra gather by us towards the end of Seuda, so everyone's invited if you can make it there. Tom, expecting earlier Shalach Manas than usual, right?
Last year was not good.
It depends who you ask, but earlier than usual, and this year we're smooth sailing. It's all right. So everyone's invited, absolutely. If you have in front of you, it's 2 different. Did both pages go around? It should be 2 pages.
I didn't know. I have one.
There should be 2 pages. Tzadik Bet and Tzadik Gimel.
I have a bet.
Okay.
Tzadik Bet, Tzadik Gimel. Baruch Hashem, we don't have enough copies. That's the bracha. I made a bunch today. I don't know what's going on.
Who needs it first?
Tzadik Bet, Tzadik Gimel.
There's green enough.
Here's Tzaddik Gimel.
There's more Gimel. This
Who needs
is
Gimel?
one of the finest.
Tzaddik Gimel?
Yeah, or you're missing out. But it's another sheet.
Look, I thought you split the pile and set
2 pages, boys.
I want to be like that.
2 pages.
No sort of. Oh, it's 2 pages.
Okay? Do most of the Chavra have both pages? Okay. Okay, so what we're going to be learning today is something that I'm very excited about. It's someone that I wanted to learn from quite some time, and it's someone contemporary. It's someone that's still Baruch Hashem in our midst, and he's a pillar in Am Yisrael, and his wisdom and depth is mamash, unparalleled. I don't know anyone else that's bichlal close to him in the way of developing learning. and I'm sure many of you have heard of him or have seen him before, and that's Reb Asher Weiss. Have any of you seen him before? Reb Asher Weiss? Nobody? Wow. Okay, we have to make sure. Have you ever heard of him? Wow. Reb Asher Weiss is I believe he's originally from England, and he's a Belzer Chassid, I think, in his roots, but he mamash is world renowned, and his brilliance in developing machshava, ideas in Torah, through halacha to machshava to Chassidus, it's incredible. Reb Asher Weiss, it's something out of this world. In fact, I always wanted to hang out with him and spend time with him. And one time I was on a flight with him. We were flying back from South Africa together, and he was sitting 2 rows in front of me, and there was no one sitting next to him, and there was no one sitting next to me. And Baruch Hashem gave me the wisdom to not bother him and have Rahmanas on him, because it's probably the only time that he's alone. You know, so I didn't say anything, but the whole time I was like taking pictures of him in between the 2 chairs and all these angles. The stewardess were looking at me like I was out of my mind. But anyway, he's mamish, a gadol shebagdolim. Whatever I say doesn't come close. And I hope we have the privilege to go and learn from him mamish in person. This is from the Sefer Minchas Asher. He has a whole series of Torah Minchat Asher. And we're going to see something that through the halacha, which I always love when we do this. We don't get to do it quite often enough, but I want to spend more time on this through the halacha to see a concept in machshava and bring it to l'maisa. Right? To me, that's the real binyan that has to. That's how you take something, and you and I have spoken about this in the past. That's how you take something and you make it mamish into mutzak, something solid. So Reb Asher is going to bring us in a world that he's going to bring us to Purim from a different angle that we haven't really gone to yet. But I believe that it'll really bring us lamaisa to another beautiful angle that we need to really bring in Purim into our hearts. Tzadik bet. La'asot otam yemei mishteh v'simcha. That's how it says towards the end of the Megillah, that Chazal have instituted that the concept of the celebration of Purim should be made into days of feasting and simcha. Pashut. Now, interesting, what's a mishteh? So it makes the whole concept of Purim even more puzzling to the person that's still trying to wrap his head around how could Chazal institute such a physical thing into such a Kedusha Dikadei. Now, a lot of the Rishonim have the Shaila, why wasn't Purim instituted as a Yantiv? That's Aser B'Melacha. Right? That's a very famous question that many of the Tzaddikim speak about. The Alter Rebbe has a beautiful way of approaching that, and everyone has something to say about this in the most beautiful way. We're going to see something very strong right now. Yemei mishteh v'simcha. The Asher says like this. Kach kruim umugdarim yemei Purim and Megillas Esther yemei mishteh v'simcha. This is what these days are called in Megillas Esther. Days of drinking, days of feasting, days of being b'simcha. Leumas yemei Chanukah shenikbeu lehalel v'hodah. As opposed to the days of Chanukah, that were instituted as days of praising and saying thank you. Now, throughout all the Sfarim, Purim and Chanukah are always kind of seen in a certain eye halachically, because those are the 2 holidays that obviously are Midei Rabbanan, right? So we always look at that thinking that it's going to be similar. But the real similarity, what's the similarity? I can only think of right now one main similarity between the 2.
They're not Yantiv.
Huh? One, they're not. One is a non thing, and one is a yes thing. One, they're non melacha, and the other thing is, what do we do that's similar on both days? Alanesim. Besides that, I don't know what what else really is there. One happens in Golus, one happens in Eretz Yisrael. But halachically, there are a lot of halachic ramifications when we try to look at each of them and say, look, these are both the Rabbanan, but they found their way mamash into the calendar. Don't tell me now Yom Ha'atzmaut, Yom Yerushalayim. Yeah.
In times of Mashiach, we're not going to have the Shalosh Rabbanim.
Besides,
we're going to have
Purim,
Purim
yeah.
and Hanukkah only.
Right.
Because the others all Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, but we'll have forgotten about that anymore.
Nachon.
The only 2 we're going to have.
So that could be Nachon. Hanukkah, it says Reb Nachman Asatoya there about the Ikar Shashua of Olam Haba is to just say thank you. So we already have a taste of that on Hanukkah, because that's what we're busy doing on Hanukkah. And Purim is already taking us to the beyond while we're in this world, so already there, that's going to be here as well. Here is going to say, look, the Yemei Mishteh V'Simcha, Chazal said, that's for Purim. Yemei Halal V'Hodah, days of saying thank you, that's Hanukkah. V'Yeduim Divrei HaLevush, the Levush says, שביר, דעיקר מצווה ימי החנוכה, בהלל והוידה, בהדלקת הנר. Why is it that the days of Hanukkah are really about saying thank you and lighting? Because it's a simcha ruchanit. It's more of a spiritual simcha. Kevan she'asakana b'mei ha'evanim hayta sakana ruchanit. This is a very well-known statement by the Levush, because in those days of Hanukkah, the sakana, the danger, in the days of the Greeks, really was a spiritual danger. They didn't say the Yevanim weren't killing us necessarily, but they were killing our souls. So we celebrate more our inyan of how it manifests is through a simcha ruchanit, it's through a spiritual celebration, because spiritually they were going to kill us by telling us, you can be a Jew, but don't really do the things that really make you into a Jew. Right? היוונים לא ביקשו להשמיד, להרוג ולהאבד. They didn't ask to come and kill us and wipe us out and demolish us. אלא להשכיחם תורתך ולהעבירם מחוקי רצונך. The Yevanim knew that you could kill all the Jews besides maybe a few, but if the few still have a kesher to their souls, Am Yisrael is still going to continue. But if you take all the Jews and say, you could still be alive, but I will detach your soul from its makor hachaim, from its source of life, then there's nothing.
Bilam versus Amalek. It's a very... Right, Bilam's whole thing is common. The Bilam's last advice to Balak is go at them with the pirzuf, like go at them with the Araba. That's the way.
It's funny, Balak and Bilam. Balak, Lamed Kaf, Lamed Kuf, and Bilam is Amalek, right? Yeah. They speak about this in the Tzaddikim talk about that. It's saying remember that word from David Zeller used to say the name of the Talmud Rebbe. Balak and Bilam spell out the words Bilbul Amok. Mass confusion. Hey Kenny. Morning, brother. Alright. Aval bePurim hagzera hayta lashmid larog ulabed. But on Purim the gzera was to absolutely kill us, wipe us out. Umishum kach, and therefore yesh lismoach simchat haguf. Therefore, you should have a simcha that has to do with the fact that your body is still alive. Velo tiknu halel v'hodaya. So they didn't institute days of saying thank you. They more instituted days of mishta v'simcha, because mishta v'simcha, my simcha of my body, can be expressed and come to life through mishta v'simcha. So I just want to make this clear to us, right? Chanukah, Yemei Halal Vehoda are days of saying thank you to Hashem. It's more of a spiritual connection. I'm lighting candles. I'm doing things that are very like mamish high. Saying Halal all day long. Purim, the inyan of Purim is what? I was about to be killed physically. So my body was not going to be in this world anymore. What does my body do? What's one of the ways I go through this world? There's an expression of my body in this world through drinking and eating and being besimcha physically as well. Okay? Is that clear? Now, weiter. Now here he says something very interesting. כאשר רגילים אנו לצטט את דברי הלבוש, הדברים נאמרים בנועם אך לחצאין. He says, when we quote the levush, by the way, does anyone know who the levush was? What is the levush? Not just like literally the levush. Does anyone ever... What's that?
Someone said one.
But the levush is a tremendous halachic authority through which we derive a lot of different inyanim lemaisa and also machshava wise. So Reb Asher is saying when we quote the levush, he's saying with like a lot of like holy chutzpah. You see what he says? When we usually quote the levush, hadvarim ne'emarim benoam, we say his words sweetly. Ach lachatzain. But here it's like only half can we really connect to what he said. Why? Bimi Chanukah Nicha. I can understand how on Chanukah he comes to the conclusion that it was a simcha ruchanit and it's about saying halal and hodah. I can understand it. Min hadin lasot zecher ruchani. I can understand min hadin, meaning that the din, that the law should be that the way that I mekayim the mitzvah of Chanukah, it should be of more of a spiritual nature. That I can understand. אך בנוגע לפורים, אין הדברים מתיישבים על הלב. But when it comes to Purim, what we all said before, and all of you went like that, really you should have said, no, something's not adding up here. וכי מה עניין לאכול ולשתות לזכר הנס? What's the inyan of drinking and eating, and that's how you commemorate a miracle that took place. וכי אין אנו מצווים להודות ולהלל למי שהצילנו ממוות לחיים? We said the days of Hanukkah are days of saying thank you because spiritually we weren't fully persecuted. We weren't done. Right? But when it comes to Purim, what's the whole inyan? It's not about days of saying thank you, it's days of a ball, of a feast.
That's a tikkun, isn't it, for the way that they partied in the time?
But that's bichlal, that's not at all what he's trying to say over here. Again, let's go back to the question over here. The shaila is like this. Why in the world would it be that on Purim it shouldn't be days of Yemei Halal Ve'odah? That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Or using your body, like if you're going to take it literally, like to the place of
using your mouth for Halal Ve'odah.
Well, I get the mouth, but like let's say it would make sense if you like a one-to-one. You say on Hanukkah because it's a spiritual, we praise God through Shiva.
Right.
Okay? On Purim because it's the physical, we praise God through dancing. Like that would be like a more one-to-one.
Right. You could even so you would label the praising through a physical aspect, but the lashon of Halal Ve'hoda'ah, the language of being in gratitude and saying thank you, is not found in the poskim when it comes to how we commemorate, how we celebrate Purim. It's not found in there. Hanukkah, yes.
Well, I mean, we should say thank you for saving our bodies too.
Of course. That's what he's saying.
Spiritually, you're still physically
right.
there.
Right.
The body is nothing to
exactly. So that's what he's asking. That's what he's asking. Why isn't that lashon of gratitude part of the simcha of Purim? Good shaila. V'yadua ma shechidesh hagriz. Okay, another name that we're not so used to. Who's the griz? Yeah, Rabbi Yitzchak Ze'ev Halevi Soloveitchik, the Brisker Rav. The Brisker Rav, the great uncle of the Rav, of Rav Soloveitchik. A great uncle or uncle? Great uncle, right? Moshe's father's brother, yeah. This is Rav Soloveitchik's great uncle, the Brisker Rav. Now, in the circles that are more yeshivish, the Velvel Brisker, meaning the Brisker Rav, is the authority. There's Reb Chaim, okay. I know these are names we're not so used to, but Be'ez Hashem will be more accustomed to in the Beis Midrash. The Griz, you'll see this all over the place. When it comes again to Mesorah and understanding halacha and how things manifested and developed through the ages, he plays a crucial role in the development of Mesorah in Am Yisrael, the Griz. Okay, so he says like this: Yadua Masha Chidesh Griz. It's known what the Griz, what the Brisker Rav had a chiddushim. Begeder Simchas Purim. When it comes to the Simcha of Purim, the besimchas hachag nitztavenu lismoach besimchat hachag. When it comes to the simcha of holidays, we were commanded to have a simcha when it comes to the simcha of chag. Shenemar v'samachta bechagecha. That you should have a simcha regarding the holiday that you're approaching. Okay? By the way, when the Gemara says chag, what is it referring to? Sukkos. Sukkot. Oh, the Chaver that are learning Gemara and Sukkot probably know this really good. When it speaks about Chag is Sukkot. But he's saying something different over here, I believe. He's saying that when it says V'samachta bechagecha, when it has to do with the simcha of Yantevs, of Regalim, it means take the holiday that you're approaching and be besimcha with the holiday itself. Nothing else. Just the holiday itself. Ma she'ein ken bePurim. Something different regarding the nature of the simcha in Purim. שנצטווינו בו על עצם השמחה שנאמר לעשות אותם ימי משתה ושמחה. השמחה לכשעצמה היא מצוות היום. The simcha unto its own is the mitzvah of the day. What does that mean? On Pesach. Huh? What does that mean? To explain to all of us.
What makes Pesach is the fact it's called Pesach. What makes Sukkot is
Nachon. What makes Shavuos is...
Okay, so was the Torah. There's also no Ma'aseh Mitzvah. Maybe we might Torah, but not...
by Purim
Is it Purim, the essence of the day is the simcha.
is the simcha itself. Meaning, it's not something else like Purim and like Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot. The day itself, the inyan of the day itself, is the simcha. That's the mitzvah of the day.
It's like that you're saying, like, you're
V'samach, right. So what would be the lashon by Purim if it was instituted in the Torah? V'samachta.
No, v'chagecha v'samecha. Like you would be celebrating in your simcha. You flip
So
it.
say it again.
So in Hebrew, or basically saying that the idea is normally we ikar is the chag, and the way we celebrate the chag is through simcha.
Right.
But our simcha is the way in which we're letting the chag influence our lives.
Nachon.
Here we're saying no, the chag today is the simcha, and so we're going to celebrate simcha.
That's it.
Celebrate happiness.
V'samachta b'simchatcha.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what we need to say. V'samachta b'simchascha. That's what it should be. Okay, and therefore he says, umishum kach, therefore, Chazal said, chayav inish besume ad lo yada. Therefore he says, that's where the Chazal came and said, all right, brothers and sisters, crack those bottles open. Why, ma keshe? Why is that the reason that Chazal say that a person must get intoxicated on Purim? Because it's not about a reason. It just is. You see, if it's about a reason of something,
Think about it.
then that's already machshava. How do I connect to the Ma'aseh mitzvah? Exactly. If it's about a specific something, an inyan, then I say, okay, I could connect to the Korban Pesach. But if it's just the mitzvah itself is simcha, and you have to be yotzei the mitzvah of simcha on Purim, where could you say, yatzati yedei chova? How can you say I was yotzei yedei chova on Purim? Again, if the fulfillment of the day is doing the mitzvah of simcha, what parameter is the what a parameter? Like, what are you saying? Yeah, I did it, right? Right, Seder.
I was happy enough.
I was happy. I did enough. Seder. It's very easy. I could say I was yotzei the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, Afikom and Zmanim. Everything it worked out. I could say that. Now in Shemayim that's checklist Yiddishkeit, but it still works. It still works. On Purim, where's the checklist Yiddishkeit?
So what happens if you don't get to Atam Yada?
You weren't yotzei the mitzvah of Purim.
It's interesting because
I'm just putting pressure on you to get John.
people almost treat us check. Okay, I did my shalom on and I did my megillah. Now I can do that. You know.
Mamish, the same exactly. See, umishum kach, Reb Asher says, because of this, of the fact that the mitzvah of the day is about simcha, that's the mitzvah of the day, then Chazal said, so how do we approach this? If the mitzvah of the day is besimcha, then we have to make sure that on the level that we could connect to in Olam Hazeh, we got to do something that'll take us to a place of the closest that we could say or not say, check, to being yotzei the mitzvah of Purim. But again, if you're at the Seudah and you're like, right, and then you're like, check, you're out, right? You're also not in, right? Even that's already not in.
Are you saying this is the one non-checklist day?
More or less, yeah. That's a great way of looking at it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Meaning Yehuda's saying right. Yehuda's saying right. Yes.
But that shouldn't be, when you give matzah to the Yom, it shouldn't be, okay, I did it. It should be this whole concept of simcha.
But even there, it's you have to get as many hands come to you. That's how much you have to give, as much as you can give. There's no limit on that. It's not counted in your cheshbon of your maaser or anything like it.
It's something separate.
It's not counted in maaser. No, it's not counted.
Mataras Lev, Sorry, guys.
Oh no.
Now, okay. Okay, so now, so he says, so now look at the next page. So now we need to understand, okay. So what is the depth, what's behind this simcha? Not a reason, he's not going to say the reason, but what's the essence of this simcha that knows no boundaries? That knows no boundaries and cannot be measured at all. What is this all about? I was saying last night to the chaver that came to the shir that there was a bunch of guys, Rav Simcha Ochbaum brought half a busload of the Reshit boys. And was saying to them that for me, it was growing up, it was very overwhelming getting ready for Purim. Because of this concept of I gotta be happy. Gotta be happy. You'd be shocked for some people that they suffer from, depression or whatever it is, that it doesn't come that naturally to just turn that button on and I'm there.
Especially when you have to put it on a target, like a lot of people struggle with their birthdays that way.
Right.
It's your birthday, you should be happy, and they're depressed on their birthday. It's Purim, you're supposed to be happy, they're depressed on their days that there's the pressure to be happier.
The expectation, yeah. Nachon. So here what we're going to see now is a way for any of us to, Be'ez Hashem, no matter what struggle it is, to tune into the Simcha of Purim. I think he's going to give us a really simple, now, like Hora'ah, instruction, how I can really be led to understanding how precious this is right now. V'tzarich bi'ur, look at the next page. V'tzarich bi'ur simcha zu ma inyana u'ma'uta. Let's now take a little bit of an explanation, a deeper look into what is this simcha all about. V'nira bezeh dehine me'az brias ha'olam ad yemei Haman, from the creation of the world into the days of Haman, lo nigzera gzeras kliya kilya al am Yisrael. Kilya, this gzera that he's speaking about means complete annihilation, total annihilation. From the days of creation of the world, when it says Allah b'machshavto, the Rebbeinu Shalom already thought about Yidden when he created the world, and then he created Adam and Eve, and then Noah, and then Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe. From then until Haman, things might have been bad at certain points, and we had enemies, and Avram Avinu fought wars, and the Egyptians enslaved us. But in terms of saying there could be what's called the final solution, that was never on the table at all until the days of Haman. Yadanu shiabud b'Mitzrayim. We knew what it meant to be enslaved to Egyptians. Yadanu milchama ba'Amalek. We knew a concept of Amalek, also war with Amalek. Paro gazar al harigat ascharim. Paro decreed to kill the male firstborn, the males. Aval gzeras kilya al kol haYehudim minar v'ad zaken taf v'nashim. Gzera zo lo yadanu ad Haman harasha. We didn't know of this at all. This was not something that was ever discussed, thought of, or tried to be implemented until the days of Haman. Now he says the line we're all waiting for him to say, obviously. Hu zeh shehikdim et Hitler yamach shmo tzorer kol haYehudim. Now put things into perspective. Now let's go into Purim. And let's go into the Eish Kodesh's bunker, 1940. The only difference is that the Eish Kodesh in 1940, there were still Jews living in African countries. So you have to imagine that all of Am Yisrael is in the bunker with the Eish Kodesh, Purim 1940. Okay? Because Achashverosh had control over the existence of every single Jew. Okay? Every single Jew was under his jurisdiction, whatever you want to call it. That Me'av Yisrim B'Sheva Medinot. It's hard for us to understand this because we're already Dor Sheni, Dor Shlishi to what our grandparents experienced. But Purim, Haman was Hitler. Mamash. Haman was Hitler. And Achashverosh was also Bechina of it. It's not for now. But Achashverosh was like the brother of it. Like last night we said, in the name of the Gra, Achashverosh is actually the words Ach Shel Harosh. He's the brother of the head of the Resha in the world. He's the brother of the Nachash. That's who he was. This wicked, wacky king. But this concept of a total wiping out and annihilation was something that was mamash on the table. And this is going to sound crazy, but it was even more applicable in the times of Shushan than it was even in 1939.
Because they were all under his.
You see, I don't want to say his name again, but the Führer, he had to still go and conquer different countries, and remember where he was on his way, obviously reaching Cairo, and he was making, obviously we know he was making good, but he still had to actually conquer different countries in order to then implement what he wanted to implement. The final solution as a machshava was there, but to implement it, he had to do a lot of things in order to get to it. What did Haman Achashverosh have to do to implement the final decree?
Make a decision.
Nothing. Huh? Just to say. Just like he would raise meaning on the level of implementing a decision, just like he would decide to raise a tax or to have a national holiday, that would be the same exact thing to just say it's done.
It's just, to be honest, I think, because we know that Haman was sure enough in the people in the 127 different Medinot that they would execute this decree, which is crazy when you think about it. He's like, my plan is to destroy everybody. He doesn't send out the troops. He said, okay, yalla, let's head. Anybody who wants to will kill the Jews. It'll happen. And he's so confident, too.
Segue from the meta.
It's easy for me. But it's let's say you have to. It says like, oh, anybody, there's your opportunity, right? And like, is it?
It seems like it.
So, he's confident enough that there are people who will execute those orders. Which is crazy.
Great. That's even. Huh?
Like the Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
There was a difference. Like in the Nazis themselves, the soldiers were doing it, but the German people kind of stayed like. But in Ukraine, it was just like people were like, "Oh, good, we get to kill Jews now."
Right. That's great. Now we can just do what we wanted to do.
Yeah. Like common person.
Maza?
They welcomed them in. They were like
Nachon?
excited about it.
That's why. Isn't it insane what's going on in Poland right now?
Yeah.
Absolutely Purim-dik, mamish, like absolute Purim. Just craziness. Who would have ever dreamed such a thing? What a crazy, crazy world we're living in. What a crazy world. Not even 100 years past. It's crazy.
Y.Y. Jacobson has an incredible shiur that came out 2 days ago on this topic. He takes it from Purim. There's a mashal about a pit and someone's neighbor, and one has a big pit in front of his house, and the neighbor has a big mound in front of his house. And the one that has the pit, it's really bothersome to him, and the one that has the mound is like also really bothersome. He keeps bumping into it. So the guy with the pit goes over to the neighbor and says, "Look, give me this dirt. I'll pay you for it, and I'll move it and I'll fill it in." Okay, and because I'll say that was Haman Achashverosh. Haman had the pit in mind. It killed him. If there was someone who wouldn't bow down to him, he had a big pit inside of himself, and he went over to Achashverosh to say, "Hey, let me. I'll go ahead and pay you. You don't even need to pay me. I'm dying. This mound's been killing me too. Do it for free. By all means, take it." And he goes in and he explains the anti-Semitism and he takes it through all the different ages and how it goes ahead and warps itself, and how, again, the fact that he can go ahead and issue this order and the people themselves will carry it out. We have a way of touching a chord with people to get them to do outrageous, outlandish burn babies. And he goes through time and he said that now it manifests itself. The virus has warped into Israel. Now it's Israel.
Right.
And he proves it. And
can you send it out to the list? Can you find it?
Yeah,
please.
It's something. But basically, the point that he goes to make is the reason is, and you've heard this, is because the Jewish people are God's conscience, so to speak. So Haman has this pit. Now, Haman's an intellectual guy, so he has this pit inside of himself, saying, "Look, I want to be a behemoth, be controlling and corrupt, and do my own thing." But the Yidden somehow testify that there's something bigger and deeper than just the physical, or something much bigger than time and space and spiritual. And if I can get rid of them, then we'll be okay. No, we don't even realize it ourselves. We don't even realize it ourselves, and we are these witnesses. You and I were at Har Sinai. That's why the average Yid who comes out of Shul on Yom Kippur and you ask him, he's like, "Well, I don't believe in a God. I just go because I don't know. It's like Yom Kippur. I don't believe in this whole thing." No, liberalism. But yet, nevertheless, we're going to throw him in. And from the guy's perspective, we're going to throw him in to the gas chambers. We're going to treat him like any other Jew, and because they see us for what we really are, which is God's witness, which is Har Sinai, which is bigger than time and space, and that is what upset Haman so much, and that's what upsets the anti-Semites of the world so much, is that we are this witness to something much bigger and greater. If we only knew it ourselves. I'll send it out. It's a really it's a fantastic shiur.
He has a way of his way. I don't know if you. Have you listened to it? Y.Y. Jacobson? Wow.
I got on Torah.
I was learning.
his stuff for a while, and I was really in awe of him. And then I was in Muncie last year, mamish right before Purim, and I gave a shiur somewhere in the morning, and the chaver there asked me, "Can we move from this base medrash to the downstairs medrash?" I said, "Sure, whatever." He said, "There's a shiur finishing right now," so I was like, "Okay." And I was in my head, we were going to do a piece. I think it was something from the PSEtzner. We're walking down into the room. Shiur was finishing, and the rabbi was leaving, and his back was to me. And then he turned around, and it was him. I was so enamored by him. I like basically what it sounded like was, like. But I really want to do a tikkun on that and tell him how much his machshava is so sharp, so sharp. Okay, so please send it out, and thank you for sharing that. So again, Haman precedes. Haman is the first Führer, but he's even more the Maisa on a certain level. That's why, like, people live. I once heard a word that said that Yidden live either in the first few prakim of the Megillah, or they live in the last few prakim of the Megillah. Like Bichlal, a Jew's life. He either feels like he's in the first few chapters, or he feels like he already is living in the last few chapters of the Megillah. Because it's very weird that we're sitting around in costumes and everything, and everyone's laughing and v'chulei, and we laugh whenever we hear Haman's name because everyone's, banging it out loud or whatever. When really, if you're alive with the psukim, with what's going on, we should be crying, freaking out. It's like mamish sitting. It's like mamish sitting, like and hearing about Jews in Auschwitz and in Birkenau. And where we say, and then Hitler came, boo! Ah! What's the difference? Is that we're still waiting for the final few chapters of that episode. That story is still not, that Megillah is not over yet. That Megillah is not over, and in Lubavitch they make it very clear, we're not letting God off the hook for that one. That's why it's so connected to Lubavitch. Lubavitch basically says, Hashem, we're not letting you still have to finish that Megillah. That Megillah that began being written in 1939, that is not over yet. You have to finish writing out that Megillah.
We know the ending, though. When you're sitting, you should know the ending now, too. But when we're sitting in shul, you're not upset because you know the ending.
Yeah.
So we actually believe in the ending the way we know the ending in the Megillah.
Alavai.
We
Alavai.
spoke to it
Alavai. V'hayoshev b'mromim shachak be'ota sha'a. But God, the Almighty in heaven, at that time, when it looked like Mamish, 1939, 1945, in Shushan, and even worse, he was laughing at that moment up in heavens, and he says, "Ve'amar ha'oleh ruchachem haya lo tiyeh." What you guys are thinking about, what you're plotting, ain't gonna happen. Balayla ha'u, nada shnat hamelech, Am Yisrael chai ve'kayam lenetzach netzachim. Am Yisrael is alive and exists for eternity, forever. Umishum kach, and therefore, Simchas Purim, Simchas Achayim hi. Therefore, the Simcha of Purim is the Simcha of life. It's the Simcha of a Jew who comes out of Auschwitz, but he didn't lose anybody in Auschwitz. But he went through the mentality of Auschwitz. He went through that fear of what could happen to him any second while he's in Auschwitz. So after that, when he comes out and you ask him, why are you happy? What is he going to tell you? Because now I can do this? No. Because now I'm alive. Pashut. Now I'm just alive. There's no reasons. I can't put it on a certain inyan. I don't even feel like saying thank you. It's not even about saying thank you. It's ani chai. I'm alive. Smechim anu mishum she'am Yisrael chai ve'kayam ve'netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. Purim is that we're happy that Am Yisrael exists. Just that. That alone can get anybody drunk. Just when it's about that. You see, when it's about that, and not, I have the schus of this in my life, I have this in my life. Those are all details that should show up at every day of our lives. They don't, but we have holidays to remind us of appreciating certain things. But the reminder, Purim brings us to the place of being appreciative of the fact that I'm even breathing, that I'm alive, and there's a concept called Am Yisrael that's still in the world. And you cannot You can't subdivide. You can't put like subdivisions on it and saying, well, this means that, this means that. It's beyond anything that you can come up with. ומשום כך נצטווינו לשמוח בשמחת החיים. And therefore we're commanded to be besimcha through the simcha of life, shehi achila v'shtiya. Drinking and eating brings a person an element of happiness in this world. When we're supposed to be sad, what does God say to us? Fast. Pashut. This is not too complicated right now. Simcha, usually we bash simcha and achila because we abuse it. But in its element, it's just natural. What it naturally brings to a person is simcha. Yeah, Eli.
I'm wondering if we're doing a tikkun for Noach. Noach comes out. I'm wondering if we're doing a tikkun for Noach. Noach comes out of the ark. I'm alive. The first thing he does, he gets drunk. Right? And I don't know if he got drunk because right, but that's the first thing he said. We're doing a tikkun because we're alive for a purpose. He came out.
Nothing.
The world is destroyed, and we see what his daughters did to build the world.
Do you think what Noach did was a sin? I mean, I think Noach didn't. I personally, the way I read it, Noach didn't do a sin. He just made a mistake about being around the wrong people.
Tikkunim happen for mistakes too, not just for sins.
What's that?
Tikkunim happen for mistakes too, not just for sins.
Well, I think the mistake is that he's around Ham. That he's around the wrong people. And he chose the wrong scenario to be.
That still needs a tikkun.
But fine. But the idea of I'm alive, let's get drunk. That we see it, by the way, at the end of any war. If you have like I guess World War II film, a war that really we connect to, but on like a world level. But you see the streets afterwards are just like singing, drinking, and eating. That's what it is. I don't know why humankind like chooses that way, but they could.
Right, but we bring a different element to that happiness. Like a simcha of kedusha, it's just different. It's a different element of. In other words, I'm not saying it's not. In other words, that's the root of it. If it doesn't have that root, then it's not real. Yeah. But we bump it up a level.
It's an interesting diuk. I never saw them say that Purim was a tikkun for Noach. ומשום כך נצטווינו לשמוח בשמחת החיים שהיא אכילה ושתייה. בעצם השמחה היא מצוות היום. ד' ו' ק'. Does anyone know what this is? I wasn't sure. I think it's dayak v'kayim be'omkam bepshutan shel dvarim, meaning take a closer look at how simple this really, what we just said really is. Very simple, because what are we really saying?
Happy to be alive.
Huh?
Celebrate to be alive.
Celebrate to be alive. Yeah. And how can you say your yotzei that simcha? You can't in the da'at world. Only in the ad lo yada can you really have a chance of being memala, the concept of celebrating that I'm alive. So, this makes, on the one hand, you could look at this and be like, wow, this makes Purim so much easier to make sure I'm firm on Purim, because all I got to do is this. But you know what it is to be really besimcha that you're alive? And it doesn't take someone's death to make you realize that? Isn't that incredible? Wouldn't that be an incredible... Like Reb Nassan Brestover has told us, and we've learned this many times, that the tachlis of a person's in this world is to wake up not due to an ason, not because of tragedy. To choose to live your life not in light of death just passed by my eyes and now I had an epiphany, now I'm awake. And on Purim, somehow, the Kedusha of the day, which if I want Purim to last with me, it's not only about saying thank you. That's why gratitude is important. But I know a lot of people that have taken on gratitude, but it hasn't really brought them to the place of simcha. It's just that I know that's the right thing to do. I have to be thankful. It's true. But on Purim, we up it a notch. We're saying, listen, gratitude is there, but simcha sachayim is something else.
But the simcha of Purim is as a result of tragedy. There is no simcha without that contrast in this story.
It's the result of what could have been, nachon?
Okay.
No,
so
did any Jew die on in Purim?
No, but the simcha is coming in contrast to the potential for tragedy. It's
right,
not
but
something
today,
that's in and of itself. I just have.
But today, what's in front of me? I could look. What? What's that?
Recollection of the story and being besimcha again in light of potential tragedy. It's not being besimcha just in and of itself.
But isn't that our fault? I mean, like, look at what happened. No, but what happened a few generations before in the story, right? Jews had the chance to go back and build the Mikdash, but 50,000 came, 40,000 came back. You know, like we have the opportunity just to be b'simcha. We just can take advantage of it. And so then the whole contrast had to come, and like just looking at it from this perspective, then the whole contrast had to come in order for us to appreciate what we have, which is our lives. There's no difference before the Purim story and after the Purim story. We're just alive.
But human nature puts us in a position where until what you have is almost taken away from you, or you can be brought to a place where you can really see how fragile life is, can you really get to the highest levels without it? I don't know.
That's the point, is that we have to be above our nature. You're right.
You're right. That's human nature.
The
You're
point
right.
is how do we
You're
get
right.
above our nature to say, Hashem, listen, I don't want to live a life that is cause and effect, meaning I don't want to live in a life where like something bad almost happened or something happens and then I make tshuva and then I do this and do that. I want to live a life that's conscious and aware and help me to be able to go and push forward without having to have all this other stuff. I want to be above my nature.
But your simcha is going to be coming from pushing forward from where you were. Again, it's still in contrast to a tragedy. You want to be besimcha that you can build the Beit HaMikdash today. That's very nice. But the reason you're besimcha is because you don't have it and you're pushing towards it. It's not. You're still not having simcha in and of itself without attachment to something tragic.
You're saying that it's not possible.
I'm saying that all of the examples just.
No, I know, but I'm saying, what do you think? Do you think it's possible to have natural simcha that's not cause and effect?
Intellectually, it means truly being b'samech b'chalko does not have anything to. Yes, samech b'chalko would be implying that it has nothing to do with tragedy. It's even in my tragedy, I am samech, or the perceived tragedy, I am samech.
But intellectually, I'm limited with what I think I can do and can't do. That's why I have to go to a state of non-intellectually.
No, it's only intellectually that it could be b'samech b'chalko.
No, it's mapidam.
And then
I'm not cheshboning out why I'm happy. In that place of Purim, I'm not calculating.
You can't drink.
So that's obviously the point. That's the reason why you have to drink, because our reality,
right,
from the Purim story until today, is that our intellect can't separate from the fact that we were almost annihilated. That there was potential for annihilation. So you have to go to this the place to just have total gratitude,
right,
in simcha gratitude, right? Because otherwise we're comparing it all to the potential for total annihilation.
Yeah, Yossi?
Well, just to keep it in perspective, would you say on the level of the mitzvah that the mitzvah of being the simcha on Purim is the same as the mitzvah of being b'tzar on Tisha B'Av?
I'm not trying to understand what you're saying.
There's a mitzvah to lessen your happiness during the month of Av, particularly on the day of Tisha B'Av.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For many different reasons, connected to the fact that we were also
right.
And then just like also on Purim, there's a mitzvah to increase your happiness for Adar, and particularly on the day of Purim.
Right. Okay.
Like, but on the level of mitzvah, of like connecting to what Hashem wants, are they the same?
Meaning, should I go into the place of Ad Loyada on the opposite level, on Tisha B'Av?
Yes.
Wow. What a Purim dick of Shaila you just asked.
No,
I hear what you're saying.
Connecting to Hashem.
Avdani, you hear that Shaila? How could anyone give an answer to that question? I don't know. It seems like we would say no because we don't want to get swallowed up by the darkness. But maybe the only way that we could really do the tikkun on it would be to allow ourselves to get swallowed up by that pain. That's a great
contrast. Because if you look at the two,
yeah,
and the two holidays, they are like very opposite. And one we eat, one we don't. One we're happy, one we're
yeah. No, it's really big what you're saying.
Potentially equally connecting.
We have a story on
more darkness than light.
It's very strong what you're saying.
The contrast is great. I mean, Purim's supposed to be like Reyes, Shalom Moines, and all that with the community. And
right.
You don't have to talk to anybody. But I think the major difference is we get up from Tisha B'Av and we sort of leave it behind us. Right? We always remember Yerushalayim and the loss of the Mikdash, but we definitely want to leave it behind us. We have, the Shiv and the Chemta. Purim, I think we want to carry that with us for the rest of the year. So even though the story of Purim and the strategy was a springboard to get up to this point of Simcha without the idea is to carry that over.
Yeah, but you're not drinking every day.
You're right, because this is just...
Hopefully.
This is like Lahavdil, like the fuel that smacks you in the face to frame your perspective.
What? Tisha B'Av?
No,
Purim.
The
potential, right.
To reawaken
Right.
you, this is what your life should be. Okay, so we do it through drinking,
Right.
But we don't need the tragedy afterwards to live the simple, hopefully. We should have a simple time, that's the idea.
That's exactly what we were trying to say before. That maybe initially what jump started it was that, but that can't be. Meaning that can't be what I always need to go back to in order to wake up.
The Jews not supposed to be drunk all the year. We're supposed to live a normal life. Oh, simcha.
Right.
Why did the Jews? It says that they didn't serve God. The two labeled with simcha.
Right.
But talking about Purim, just in general, the service of God is great, but without simcha, it's a problem.
Yeah, Eli.
I was thinking it's a dance between the descriptive and the prescriptive, right? We in the world that we live in, the way we describe, we have every coin has two sides. There's an up and a down. Everything has balance. But in our world, we talk about God only as good, right? And we talk about going to the 49th level of Tuma, but never, we always stop.
Never lower.
Right? So Judaism is sort of always off balance. Those dice are always loaded to the positive. And certainly in the prescriptive, we're always saying, no, that's the way we need to head. So it's not exactly, the dreidel doesn't keep spinning forever, right? We're always pushing it on one side.
Well, I guess it's probably because they serve the same purpose, right? With the sadness of Tisha B'Av and the happiness of Purim serve the same purpose, which is be happy with what you have. And this goes back to what Moshe was saying before. I think your question is kind of irrelevant because everybody. No.
Welcome to the
Welcome to the Chabura.
I say that in an intellectual realm, the question exists. In a Maaser realm, it doesn't exist because everybody's experienced Simcha and Etziv. Everybody's experienced highs and lows. Right? It's just, you can't go through life without having at least one low or at least one high. It's impossible. And so you're always going to have the ability to connect to a low. It's just a question of do you use this? Tisha B'Av is commemorating something that happened a very long time ago. Yet if we're able to connect to the Etziv, the sadness of the day, then we can use that to propel us into this Beit HaMikdash building mentality. If we get into the place where we're able to be so b'simcha of Purim, I was going to say Yom Kippur, but in my head already, right? But in on Purim, then we're able to get into this mindset of Hashem's with us at every moment. It's like they both put you in a mindset of building and moving forward, which is always like getting to the concept of building the Beit HaMikdash, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. It's just utilizing the full facet of all the emotions that you could possibly experience to the same goal, which is becoming closer to Hashem, building the Beit HaMikdash, building your nation.
What's probably more amazing about any of this is that, any of us have been able to look at you and take you seriously with the way you look like right now.
I'm keeping my back.
As you were talking, I was looking to see how people are receiving your words, and everyone's mamash,
I was going to say the same thing.
I just have to show the chevra.
Got the makeup on.
What we're talking
this is what
about,
I was left with,
You see, that's what it means that at a certain point, it doesn't. At
a certain point, it just doesn't. All these cheshbonos don't matter. We're alive. They died. What's the?
They come to kill us.
They come to kill us.
We want. Let's
eat. Let's drink. On a certain level, I feel like that's what Reb Asher is kind of saying here at the end of things. Anyway, we should just pay attention to the fact that notice the davening that Chazal instituted regarding Yemei Halel v'Hoda'ah, and then there's times where it's more than just about being thankful and being in gratitude. It's the Makor HaChaim, it's the source of life, and celebrating the fact that you and I are experiencing life. Quite often, Reb Shlomo in the middle of concerts would talk like this, and I never really understood it till and I'm only beginning to understand it now. He would say, what the deepest thing about life is? And he would say, the fact that you and I are tasting it. Not that I have this and that level of life exists, but just the fact that there's a concept called life and you and I are tasting it. That's the Simcha of Purim. That's mamash adaloya, that we should be privileged to give that over to the children, that they should feel the eternal bliss, and they should feel privileged to have to come into this world, because many people don't. All right, Yishar Koach, everyone. Remember, tomorrow we have the bris. Whoever's Gonna make it right after davening. Huh? We're learning at 7:30 tomorrow morning for Tiny Esther. Yeah.